Hi everyone, welcome to this week's version of Mums on Cloud Nine podcast. We're delighted to have you join the show. And today we're talking about one of our favourite topics at Supermums, which is all about career planning and your vision for the future. So we're going to be discussing ways that you can use AI to help you navigate your career. At Supermums, we work with a lot with mums who are thinking about relaunching their career and exploring and getting really, we always talk about making an informed decision. How do you make that decision to take a leap of faith into a new career and take those steps? And actually, AI can help you a lot along that way. AI can help you explore which careers you want to do, help you navigate whether it's the right career for you, help you prepare your CV, your LinkedIn, prep for interviews, all of those things. And we're going to be delving into this topic in a little bit more detail. So I'm delighted to have Kitty with us today, who's navigated from a corporate life to starting and running her own business. And so she's going to share with us her passion for this area. She's used AI a lot on this journey. So Kitty, do you want to just introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. Thanks very much, and pleasure to be here. My career has kind of been made up of kind of a few parts. I had kind of 10 years in the kind of corporate world, working in kind of tech and telcos firms. I then moved over and did 10 years in the big four consulting firms, consulting in a kind of in a similar space. And throughout that journey, I've helped lots of people on their career journeys, both in terms of training development, where they want to be and what they want to do. Is the positions right? What their aspirations? So working with them on their future planning, as well as kind of their kind of their wider development. And currently, I have two businesses: a legal consulting firm and a startup, which is female first sports betting. So I'm really passionate about empowering women and using all of the tools available to you and to us in order to be able to best advantage ourselves in a competitive landscape.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining and just taking this time out with us
Oh,
today. And it's great to hear that you've repositioned and running two businesses is no small feat. So
well, one keeps the lights on, and the other one is my passion project. So whilst we find funding, so hopefully that dynamic will shift over time. But that's that's we've all got mortgages to pay. So
yeah, but it is very relevant to this conversation because it is about taking that leap of faith, isn't it? Going, career planning comes in many forms. It's do I start a business or not, and and how AI has helped you make decisions whether to start a business or
yeah.
not. It'll be interesting to see how you've used AI to inform your research around business, but also how you've used it in the past.
So I would say it's been integral, to be honest. And maybe I'll just clarify that when I talk about AI in this space, I'm talking about the large language models,
Mm.
so Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, ChatGPT. So when I talk about AI in this context, that's kind of what I'm talking about. And I would say it's been integral to what I've been able to achieve and what I've been able to do. Both from the early stages when I finished my role as senior director at Deloitte, when I took the summer out and was trying to think about what came next for me. We have a busy house. I'm a stepmom of three who are with us 50, 60% of the time. So we're a busy house, and taking that time out to refine your thoughts can sometimes be really hard. And one of the things that the kind of the chat GPTs and the AI is really good at doing is helping to formulate your thoughts, right? So you can give it either verbally, if that works for you, or written, a string of consciousness almost, and it can help to transform that into some thinking. And either you might have a visceral reaction, which is, oh God, no, that's absolutely not what I was thinking, to, oh, actually, that sounds like that might be an idea. I might work on that. And it's really good at giving you ideas for thinking about what you might want to do. And I think, as you kind of introduced, preparing for interviews, preparing for sessions, researching companies to find that fit for you, understanding what the roles are. Because if you are a returner, or a returner to work, sometimes you might feel like the world has moved on, especially when you think about the technology, and the businesses that you left the year before to the businesses you're now entering might feel quite different. And the large language models can really help you navigate and understand that in a way which is simple to understand. So I would say it's really integral, and used in the right way, they can be really powerful tools to help you find clarity when perhaps you don't have that in your head.
Well, that's really useful. Thank you. I'd love to dig into some of those things a little bit
Yeah.
more. So in terms of, researching companies like that career plan, how do you make that decision to take the leap into something new? What would be some of your tips to kind of, the steps that you would take?
So I think, as with everything, there's a balance, right? And where you are in your career is only a moment in time. Okay. And you need to make the decision for what is right for you at the time. And kind of why I say that is you don't have to take the whole world on all at once, right? You can have aspirations, but perhaps where you are right now, you've just had a baby, you've got a toddler, you've got children starting secondary school, wherever you are in your journey, that's okay. And you need to have the confidence to understand what you need from a role and from a job, and what you need in that moment in time. So, would be probably the kind of what I would say. So, I think it's okay to say I'm going to take this role for now, and I've got ambition for here for later. Or you might actually say, do you know what? It's a perfect opportunity. My kid's just about to go to secondary school, or they're just about to go to primary school. I'm getting all this time back. Do you know what? I'm going to double down and I'm going to commit to this and I want to achieve this. There is no right answer. It's only what is right for you individually, for your situation at home. And no one can navigate that for you apart from you, really, to understand that. And what I would say is, if you're returning to work after an absence, have the confidence that you'll be okay. Right? And that people will be patient with you in the right companies, and take your time to find that fit for you, and find out what's right for you. Some people just need money, and that's fine. Some people want to have, a reward. That's okay, in terms of kind of, they want to have their job that's rewarding. They want to do something interesting. All of those things are valid, but you need to understand those for yourself. And I would, first of all, before anything, take some time out to reflect on that, reflect on your situation, because then you will be successful, and you want to put yourself in the best possible position for success. And if you've if you've got a lot of bills to pay, you probably aren't starting a startup. Right? You're perhaps looking at something else. And I think that that's fine, and you can hold that ambition for later. And it's only ever a moment in time, and you build throughout your career, and it shifts and changes, and what you need and want from it are different at different moments in your life. And that's okay, the same way as life does. And it should follow and mirror and complement it, and in my opinion, never take over.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's really, really useful. I think, the confidence piece is really essential. And I think that's why people love coming and working with us at Supermums, because they're part of a community of other mums on the journey with them. So they're not by themselves.
Yeah.
And we also benefit from like a one-to-one mentor who holds their hands as well. And
Perfect.
I think if you're starting
I
in a
love that.
company, as you've mentioned, finding somebody who's that sponsor and is
Yeah.
aware that you might have been out of work for 10 years and you're returning, companies that work with supermums or hire supermums typically know that, and are more sensitive and aware
Yeah.
of it. And I think it's really important that there's that empathy and to be kind to yourself.
Oh, and be comfortable in the uncomfortable at the start, right? Don't, it when you're returning, you're finding a new version of yourself, and that takes time for that to emerge, and you might not get that right in week one, and that's okay. You might not even get that right in job one, and that's also okay. And it's about trying it on for size. It's only ever a job. And I don't mean that to kind of dumb it down, but at all, because people have, and I've had to held very senior positions in very big corporate worlds. And one of the things I would say is how I kind of have balanced that is it sits in its place within my life that I wanted to sit in. And with that, it doesn't hold this, but it doesn't have a big hold over me. And I think when you kind of walk in with confidence, say, this is who I am, I have something to add here, you've hired me for a reason. And I think that that's really important to say, is that when somebody hires you, the risk of the hire is on the hiring manager. It's not on you as the employee, right? If they have hired you and you're not right for the role, that is on them, right? And the thing that you must always remember is that they know much more about what they're looking for in that individual and candidate that they're hiring than you probably conceive and can understand in the role. And so you have to trust that. You have to trust that the hiring company and the hiring manager have seen something in you that they want, right? Whether you feel that in yourself, whether you feel the confidence to say, oh gosh, oh, they think all these things of me, or they think I'm capable of that, or I don't know how I feel about that. If they've seen that in you, trust in that is what I would say. Walking with trust, because they can hire whoever, right? Like, they don't have to hire you. They've hired you because they like you. They think culturally you're a great fit. They think you'll be a good part of the team. They think you've got something to add. They believe you can grow and develop at their company. They want to work with you. All of those like really, really, really strong positive things when you're starting that journey. And even if it doesn't, you don't feel that inside, and in kind of in your confidence, just my sense check would be just to go back and check that. And I think your mentorship's a really great idea, because that's a really safe place to talk about some of that stuff. And good mentors will help you navigate that and help you with those difficult conversations. So if you're in a situation that you feel a little bit overwhelmed, your mentor's such a great place to go and check in and say, I've got this conversation coming up with this person. I haven't had this sort of conversation in a long time. Could you just help me role play it, navigate it, whatever? Um, and all of those tools are available to you. Just to take your time.
Kelly, what about you? What's your thoughts on what Kitty's saying and how you would advise people to use AI?
Yeah, so when I'm dealing with our clients and trainees, I always make sure that I get them to create a mini GPT of their own, and we can
Yeah,
we can call it like a job co-pilot or whatever you want to call it, if it's irrelevant. And I get them to add their CV, add their skills, just keep talking to it and teaching it about their work self. Obviously throwing in a bit of their personality and start building that as well, and then helping them use that LLM to actually take, I don't know, take, say, for example, 10 vacancies that you think you like. Try and teach your GPT or whatever you're using to actually analyze the CV and the actual vacancy to give you kind of like a percentage of what best fits.
yeah.
So people are not applying for jobs that are not really like matching their CV and their skill set. So I did a few tests on it, tried to, build a sample one. And it was giving like 60% for this role, 90% for this role. And then you can start to see what's going to be more valuable to you. What are the places to go to first to apply for jobs that are going to be more relevant to you? Because again, you're going to have people who have low self-esteem in what they can deliver, people who are a bit too higher than what they should be delivering. So trying to balance that, bring them all back to that medium of where you should be and what you should be applying for. So getting them started on that and using that to actually build their work self so they can actually apply for the relevant roles. It's a good starting point, really. I feel like.
Yeah, and I just add a few things into that actually. So when you have used, I'm just going to say use ChatGPT just because it's it's the tool that I use the most.
Yeah.
When you start to do a lot of work on it and you have projects and you've got different, so within the model, what you can do is you can create projects and you can create files, etc., within those specific projects. And once ChatGPT has got to know you, you can ask it for insight questions on you. So you can ask it things like based on kind of what you know about me, what are my strengths and what are my blind spots? Really great questions to ask it, right? Gives you some insights into yourself. My one caution against that is I would, and I think we touched on this, is when we are kind of in the pre-call, was make sure that you have fully personalized your ChatGPT. ChatGPTs are set up to please you.
Yes, I was going to
So
say this.
so
Yeah.
what you need to do is you need, that's the kind of the default setting. So what you need to do is, and there's tons of tools available. There's people on Instagram to follow. There's people on LinkedIn to follow that will tell you about how to set up your ChatGPT to be a critical friend, right? So
Yes.
you can set up your ChatGPT to say something to so that it's not always going, you're amazing, right?
Yes.
And to give you a realistic but approachable perspective on things. And then it becomes a really, really useful tool, because then you can say, based on what you know about me, as I said, what are your strengths? What do you see as my blind spots? What do you see as my passion? What do you see as the thing that I'm missing? Or how would you suggest I present myself? And when you're going into kind of interviews and things like that, it can help prep you with questions and points that might be interesting to kind of to bring up, to just give you that strength that to sit behind yourself. but you must. Well, so and the other kind of part of that, the benefit of kind of training it is it becomes much more you. So, it what you don't want is the generic content that people get very frustrated about, right? But if you spend the time with it, like you would do, I mean, I call it the intern, right? Like you would do a member of your team or a business coach or somebody. If you spend time with the LLM working on it, getting to know you, refining what your parameters are for how you want it to speak to you, then it can become this like incredible tool to support you, and it becomes personalized. So when you get it to write a cover letter, so we just used the example where you've got a CV, a job spec, and then perhaps an application form, right? And you can copy and paste out or screenshot the application questions into ChatGPT and ask it to give you a suggested answer. Now, the more time you spend on personalizing it, the better reflective of you those answers will be. And in that is the magic power, right? Nobody wants a generic with a load of dashes in there that looks like it's cheesy American whatever. And it will take time to iterate. You have to iterate what it says. It gets you 80% of the way there, and that last 20%, and that's your efficiency saving. That's kind of the tool, and the last 20% is really for you to bring it to life and to coach it and to ensure that it's really reflective of your language, how you speak and how you want to present itself. And then you ask it to remember it, right? So then you go, remember how we've done this application, because when we do these again, this is how I'd like you to frame the answers. This is the tone of voice I'd like you to use. These words don't feel like something I would say, and you can be like that. And just remember, it's not a person, right? You could be rude to it.
This is the problem I had there. Before I realised you can actually change and personalise the settings, me and GPT were having back and forth arguments. I'm like, are you stop telling me things to make me feel good about myself? I want you to be blunt, honest, and factual. I don't need any fluff. So it took me a while to figure that out, to get him to speak like me, which is just blunt and factual.
Yeah.
It was a lot of arguing with the AI before that took place.
Sometimes and look, sometimes you do want a bit of a big up, right? And that's okay too. Always. And there's been times in my School Queen's journey where I have gone to ChatGPT and I've said, look, I'm really struggling to find the focus on where to find investment for School Queens. I'm struggling for the motivation to do this. I'm having a really, really hard day with all of this. And even though my ChatGPT is trained to be, in your point, it's trained to be a critical friend, no fluff, whatever, it came back with a fantastic answer, which was, Kitty, this is a really good idea. This is. And it reset me. And so, and it's not like it's the same as a friend, but sometimes you just need that space, and you can use it in all sorts of ways, as a coach, as an assistant, as a someone who's able to kind of navigate and understand similar information very quickly and find out things about the people that you're seeing, or the companies that you're going to see. So it's such a useful tool when it comes to this, and I think it's really good at helping to build your confidence. And we've spoken about confidence a few times, but for me, that's often when I've interviewed returners to work or interviewed mums who maybe were part-time coming from a more full-time job. That's always the thing that gets me, is that sometimes that confidence just isn't there, and you can use it as a tool to help you with that.
Yeah, some brilliant tips there. I love that, particularly like the rejection. Like, if you've been to an interview and not, been rejected again, like how you could use that to coach you to build it round.
Yeah.
The other thing that spun off for me was around so at Supermums we've invested in AI coaching and cloning, and actually building our own clones. I think and that's something that we've all been working on to do. So I think, yes, step one is really important. We actually leaned into some training by Tony Robbins for that one, but you say there's different ones out there. But another AI coach we've got that's looking at our whole sort of transformation for our company is he got us to upload a personal profile exercise that we'd done.
Yeah.
It was a particular tool that he'd used, but we then upload the findings in there so it could get to know us that way. But if you didn't do an external tool, I assume you could ask it to actually give you some personality profiling questions as a prompt.
Oh,
Ask me 20 questions to get to know me personally and be straight to the point and everything like that. So that's another thing we did with him, is sort of say, right, ask me 20 questions that are going to help you fact find about me, my personality, what I want to do, what might be right for me career wise. Ask me questions about my skills. So yeah, I think it's really important to personalize. Some great points there. Thanks, Kitty.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of tools available. You can do, Myers-Briggs and all. There's all sorts of personality profiling tools that are now pretty readily available. So absolutely, you can get it to ask it to, based on a business, business personality profiling, because it is business, is what I would say. Is if you're going to use the tool for business, make sure that you're asking it in a business context, not in a just get to know me generally, right? Like, I like dogs, right? Okay, brilliant. Probably not that helpful for trying to find a job in tech. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that was a bit of an assumption, maybe. But make sure you're asking it the right stuff. Be specific as you can be, right? With it, the more specific, the more detailed you are with it, the more time you spend on your prompts. And you probably know this with you from your training. The prompting is now everything, and how you spend your time, whereas historically maybe you were spending your time wordsmithing your CV, etc. That's not what you're spending the majority of your time on now. You're spending the majority of your time now on wordsmithing the prompt and making sure the prompt is detailed. If it's not quite right, you go again, right? Open a new chat, refresh it, etc., etc. So that's kind of really important, I think, to say. But yeah, absolutely, it's a great call out to say, yeah, absolutely, get it to know. I get it to ask me to find out about myself. Yeah, like that.
From our side, from all of our side, it sounds like we're all singing from the same hymn sheet there. I think it's so important to learn. The more you know, the more you can get out of the tool. So prompting, as you say, you're only as good as what you put in. I mean, for sure. I think setting up your clone is really important, making sure that you put your markdown file in there so that it reads it, and obviously it can keep going, making sure that every single time you start a new chat, you start it with a new chat, because otherwise it continues with the old one. I think there are so many important things to take away. And I think, as you said, Kitty, people go into new job roles and they feel like, I'm not good enough. And it's like you just said, you're there for a reason. Somebody hasn't just plucked you out of the air. You're there because they like you. And I think it's so important for people to go in with confidence, to know that, you've been chosen, and a lot of people, like you say, will go into a new job role and just feel like they're not good enough. I always say, don't let anyone dull your sparkle. Just go in there and know that every single person that is starting a new job today will be feeling exactly the same as you are. So I think that's one thing that's important. But on the AI stuff, I was just going to say, what would you say would be the main risks to look at?
So I think the main risks for me are not interrogating the responses well enough. It only has the context that you give it, right? So sometimes the answers might not be quite exactly what you need or what you want. So I would always interrogate it. I would say the risks are around sounding generic and not your personality not shining through, and that's what you absolutely don't want to do. People are hiring you, they are hiring your experience, they are hiring, to your point, your sparkle, and you don't want anything to dull that, right? And that's potentially the risks, I would say, if you don't set it up properly. And so I think, I was just reflecting on what you talk about starting a job, and actually about how perhaps people could also use it in those first kind of couple of weeks, right? Not to do the work, obviously, but to, you could, the day before, whatever, you could say, can you give me a plan for this week? Do you help me structure things I might want to ask people? Give me a list, based on what you know about the company, based on what you know about the role and me. What do you think is important for me to kind of think about? What's my, my first 30-day plan going to look like, right? So in that instance, which I think is a really nice way to use it, you just want to sense check how realistic it is. And I'll give you a real example. I was doing some work this week, and I asked it to help me put together a plan actually for the first 72 hours. And it put together this plan. And I was like, whoa, slow your horses here. It literally had me delivering delivering papers and plans and this. I was like, that's not realistic for how, I'm sure in 3 days I probably could do all of that with you, but that's not realistic in a work environment for what it is. So just check the realism on it, check that your personality, and you're happy and confident that your personality is coming out. It's your tool, okay? It's your tool for you to use as you wish. No one sees it, so you can be whoever you want to be there, right? It is the world's safest place in that regard, right? So so you can kind of create that environment for you. And if you don't do that, I think that's where the risks start to fall out. It starts to become generic. The thing that people get very frustrated about, the dashes are the classic, the classic thing. But again, you just prompt it. You just put in your settings, do not use these dashes. It's a real shame. I used to love that dash before ChatGPT. The dash is now dead. So that was what I would suggest the main risks are.
Some amazing tips there. Thank you, Kitty. I think I love the sparkle. That's Lynn all over that sparkle. I love the confidence.
Sparkle.
Yeah, and with confidence with sparkle, we talk about superpowers at Supermums, clearly. And so it made me reflect as we were talking about, when you create that clone, if you do personality tests, upload those or ask it questions, the first thing to ask it is, based on what you know about me from this personality profile or for the questions you've asked me, what are my superpowers? Because I think women need to sell themselves much more strongly in interview, right? That's the thing that we're really bad at. What are the things that I'm good at? Ask me about what I've enjoyed. So we talk about when we support mums, we'll ask them about their personal attributes at home. What is it that you do at home? How are you?
Yeah, love that.
What would people say about you? What are the skills? What have you really enjoyed in the workplace? What's given you the buzz? What are you proud of? What are your achievements? And then industry experience, like what industries have you worked in? What do you know about what the, when we talk to the mums, we say, look, you can sell yourself based on your industry because you know the jargon, you know the processes, you know the KPIs of where you've worked. So sell yourself in based on the industry expertise. And by the end of the session with them, we'll say, right, now have a clear idea of your superpowers. And, ChatGPT can support that as well. It can help you get clarity on it. So that really, that was a really useful thing at the end of what we do.
It's always something that I've been really strong. So there's a guy, Strength Finder, which is an absolutely fantastic business profiling tool to look at. And the philosophy behind Strength Finder, which I've always bought into, and I would always do this with my team, right, is people spend too much time focusing on things they're not good at, right? That is not your differentiator. Your differentiator is the thing that you are amazing at. And if you're going to concentrate your time, you spend the time on the things that you're incredible at. So if you've got an hour of time to do learning and development let's say you're looking for a job or whatever, and you want to upskill yourself, or you're in your job now and you're trying to decide where you go and you want to progress, and you have some time for learning and development or training or focus, don't spend your time focusing on the things that you will only ever be mediocre at, right? Spend your time looking at those things that you are amazing at. Because in the world of work, no one expects you to do everything. Like, I am bad at spreadsheets. I'm not great at the maths, the analytics, any of that stuff, right? And so and this is what the exercise I would do with my teams, we would benchmark ourselves. You benchmark the teams on a scale of 1 to 5 against a number of different things, whatever those things are for the job that you need to have or the job that you want to have. And there is, of course, some baselines of things. So, for instance, in my instance, I can't be a 1 at financing and spreadsheets, but I could probably get away with a 3, right? And I'm never going to know how to do the formulas or whatever. But there is things where I am a 4 that I could be a 7, a 10, a 9 at, that actually, if I'm going to spend an hour being better, that hour is better spent focusing on the things that really make you sparkle. And that's the thing. We'll go back to the ChatGPT. If you're going to use the tool to help you see that, that's an incredible place, because then the next level on from what you're talking about is, you know me, you know what my strengths are. Now, how do I get even better at those things? How do I become even more Kitty than I was yesterday? Those things that you're great at, how do you amplify them? How do you bring, how do you spend your energy in creating even more strength in those things? Because that's to your point, your superpower, right? And only you are you in the world, and only you have those things that you could do. And ChatGPT can help you see those things perhaps in yourself that you didn't see, and then help you with a plan to move forward from that. And I would always, I would never spend much time thinking about the things that I'm not great at. I would focus my time on the things that I'm good at.
Love that. Oh my God, so many great things.
I love this. I love this conversation.
Ever. I mean, ultimately, I think there's loads of things to make you sparkle at AI at the end of this. Using AI for your career planning and career preparation, and starting a new job. We've kind of covered everything. So thank you, Kitty, so much for sharing all of that. And I can see you're so enthused about this topic.
I love it.
Personal branding is a big one as well.
Yeah, personal branding. Personal branding is a great one to do. And there's a really cool exercise which I call the shield, which you can do, which is kind of where I am now, what am I interested in, where I want to get to, kind of what is what's your super strength, right? That's always quite a nice kind of exercise to kind of start to imagine that. And the other thing that just occurred to me as well when we were talking about this was career paths, right? Because if people want to be somewhere but they might not be there yet, one of the things that ChatGPT can kind of help you do is understand what that path is, and what training might be better, what qualifications might be beneficial for you to have, and what that realistic path might look like. So maybe you're starting here, but actually your aspiration is to go here. What do those steps look like for you, and where might you find the right support to be able to? Sounds like Supermums is obviously a great place to find that support, but then the AIs can help you refine that into an actionable plan that feels yours, that you own, and you can then check it as you kind of go through.
Yeah, I know, that's awesome, isn't it? Because I think it's really important to talk to the employees about your progression plan. I was actually coaching one of our super mums this morning on, what does that progression plan look like? What could you see? And they say you can ask ChatGPT to kind of give you that progression, like the different skills at each stage and what you need to do, and what you need to show. And if you want to show up for an interview and sort of benchmark yourself, you've kind of got that. So
I would just say the one thing we talked about risk earlier, and the one thing that I would not want anyone to go away from with this, and we talked about kind of percentages of likelihood and comparisons against things, right, is the one thing that women are terrible at is they wait until they're 100% there before they go for the job. Men just go. Okay, so all of this conversation that we just had about sense check it against 60%, whatever, but don't ever let that stop you. If you want the job and you think you'd be great at the job, it doesn't matter what ChatGPT said. Even if, well, I mean, maybe it says you're 10%, that's probably a bad idea. Like if you've got a medical degree, don't please go try and apply for a surgeon. But if you see a role, you think that role is a good fit for you, go for it, right? Don't hesitate. Don't wait until you're 100%. That is, no one is 100% at anything at any time in a role, right? They're absolutely not. And you should never hesitate on that application of the role to do that, because when you're an interviewer, so when you're on the other side, when you're me, that's not what you're looking for, right? What you're looking for is, yes, do they have the core competencies and the skills, but also a good interview will also understand what is transferable. And if you don't have an example within the world of work, my urge would be to you to not say, I don't know, I don't have an answer to that. Would be, I don't have a specific example for that, but what I have done is this. And outside of work, I've done this, this, and this. And I think that that's a similar sort of skill to what you're saying. And actually, I did that really well. And this was the success that I had from that. And because no one expects you to necessarily have all the answers, especially if you're a returning mum, right? But what we want to see from you is, what are you going to bring, and what's your mental agility to be able to think through the tasks, the problems, the challenges that you're going to be faced in your role, and how will you think through that, right? So I used to have an example. I was when I was interviewing for one of the big four, it was kind of mid-level position, and one of the set questions we had to ask was actually about purchasing parts for an aeroplane, right? And the applicant went, but I have no experience of purchasing parts for an aeroplane. And that was true. That wasn't the answer we were looking for. What we wanted to hear was, well, I've never done that specifically, but what I have done is this. I bought this out of the next thing. And so if I was to buy aeroplane parts, this is how I would go about doing it. This is the process that I would follow. And that sort of thing, if we just take it back to the kind of the tools, is that ChatGPT can help you work that out as well. So it can help you say, so this role is a 60% fit for me, but think about the things that you know about me and how might I apply me and what I know and my approaches to make that 60% and 80%. What are the things that I could apply outside of work that might be relevant? So you kind of use it for that tool to kind of flex things and just think laterally about your answers, right? And the interviewer isn't looking for perfect. They're looking for personality, application of thought, skills, but transferable skills, and more so a way of thinking, and an approach to how you would deliver things.
Completely echo that. We see that all the time with the feedback from the super mums, because again, there's that barrier of like, I've had time out of work, I'm up to date, and quite often job applications will say, or job specs, sorry, will say, 2 years experience. They're like, it's like we actually got years of experience in different areas, at home, at work, at life, use that, it's not black and white, harness that and sell yourself in. And quite often it's how they shine at interview and how they sell themselves in and build rapport and have that conversation that gets them the job. So it's just like some brilliant tips there. Don't hesitate, put yourself forward, shine and sparkle. I think that's a takeaway. It's a sparkle off the back of it.
Have I got time for one more that you just triggered me? which is around another thing that ChatGPT is great at doing, right, is helping you understand your network. Because I would say that if you look at job applications, that's a hard world, right? Job applications are hard, competitive. To your point, they're full of things that they're aspirational. Job specs are only ever aspirational. And the best place often to find your next role is through network and referral. And so ChatGPT can help you understand who's who in the zoo. It can help you look through, and I would never be afraid of looking through someone's LinkedIn of someone and see where your mutual connections are and say, look, I see you've got a connection there. I'd really like a personal introduction to that person, right? I think that this company might be a really good fit for me. I don't know if they're hiring right now, but I think that they're on my target list and I'd really like to have a conversation. Because I think if you can kind of come in that way, that stuff melts away, right? That 5 years experience, whatever that you're meant to have, that kind of melts away. And so kind of, and when you're thinking about your job search, you're thinking about your career and your vision for yourself and what you want to do. Think about how you can utilize your network and and then ChatGPT can help you realize that, right? And help you find the contacts and find that network, and help you craft those first conversations, those first kind of messages, etc., etc. And because people want to help, and if someone's got a connection and you think that connection could be helpful for you, I mean, I would think twice if someone looked through my LinkedIn and went, oh, Kitty, this guy over here or this lady over here, I really want to work for that company. How well do you know them? Could you give me an introduction? So don't be afraid. The job applications are aspirational and not always reflective of the jobs that are all out there. And there's lots of hidden jobs in the network.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Kitty. You could talk about this for hours, but it's great to you go off great, and that's the third business. Is
I'll be here next week.
Let's start another business. But thank you so much, Kelly and Lynn. Kitty for joining us today. Some really great tips there, and we just want everybody to sparkle and shine and be super like super mums, obviously. So really appreciate it. We'd love to hear your reviews on the podcast as well. Check out the website and the blog for further tips and tools that you can use to help you plan your career using AI. Hopefully it will save you loads of time. That's what we want to do on this podcast, and using AI is let's help you save time and get better results. So we'd love to hear your feedback, the results you get, keep in touch with us, and we'll hopefully hear you and see you on the next podcast too. So thank you very much, everyone. Speak to you soon. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.